Welcome to Becoming Parents podcast. I'm Jen Taylor, your host. I am mom of 18, and you can find me on momsrunningit.com. Remember, give a shout out to those who are brave enough to share their stories with us on how they have become parents. Let's dive right in. Welcome to Becoming Parents. I'm the host, Jennifer Kimball, and today I am with Dr. Hoehn. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. I'm so excited to meet you finally. It's been a while.
I'm really excited. I know we had to get all of our stuff lined up. Things change over time. You're in LA. We're in the same time zone. I'm in Reno. And I am fascinated by your website and your information and how I want to kind of jump in, like, you started school. Take me there, because now you specialize in infertility and it's pretty astounding. Your results are astounding. I've cyber stalked you, but where did this journey begin for you?
I've kind of had a lot of careers. I was an underwater photographer for a little bit, and then I was also in the film business. I have a pretty strong photography background, and I had a really horrible accident at work. I was in the film business, and I also at the same time was suffering from horrible, painful periods. So I had to literally every month throw up, take some Advil, and just kind of go to work. So I didn't realize that there was another solution out there. I just thought that that was normal. I'm kind of older, so I guess at the time it's changed a lot now. People have access to a lot more information, but at the time I thought that was normal.
Yeah.
So acupuncture got me back on my feet after my debilitating work accident, and it was so powerful. It also changed and transformed my period. So I decided I didn't want to be doing a physical labor job in my 40s. And so I went back to school and studied TCM, traditional Chinese medicine frameworks, and herbology. And then at the same time, I realized that I wanted to help more camera women because they're a very underserved part of the film crew community. And so I started really treating my friends. So after I got into school,
that's how we all get started.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And so then I started realizing that a lot of people had this condition of dysmenorrhea, painful periods, and there were a lot of other conditions associated with it. And so there was a lack of information. And so I felt like I wanted to educate and empower people, and specifically women in reproductive health, so that they knew all of the choices out there for them. So then I started getting additional training. I trained in precision medicine, in functional endocrinology, and then I got additional certifications. And I'm now a fellow on the American Board of Reproductive Medicine. And then I ended up getting a doctorate in TCM frameworks as well. So I just kind of kept going to school, and it really is, as you know, being a clinician as well, we were talking about this before, but it really is a rabbit hole. Being a clinician is all about studying constantly, like for me, every second of the day, so that I have the information for the people that I serve. So
I mean, I think it's fascinating. I went through infertility 32 years ago, and I got up to IVF. So I had 7-day surgeries, and I was maxed out on Clomid and Provera. But it started when I was 15, and those, either I did not have a period, amenorrhea, or I would legitimately be in the hospital thinking I was going to hemorrhage, and how awful that is. And what's really fascinating is that my daughter, that's 31, the first biological daughter I had after infertility, she has the same issues with those really painful, super heavy, debilitating periods. And you know, when I went, they put me on birth control, right? Orthonovum 777 is what I was on, which probably is like banned for life at this point.
yeah.
But when I brought my daughter in at 15, that's exactly what they did. So even though 21 years had passed, and I've watched her for the last, 15 years go through this process, she can't have children, not without like a massive, she'd have to really go through infertility and doesn't want to. So I guess she cannot, without going to great lengths, get pregnant. But what they were doing to her was the exact same thing that they had done for me.
Yeah, we can really get into this. This is a good
Yeah.
topic because it's astounding to me, like we have people that are trying to conceive that
Yeah.
are diagnosed with PCOS.
Okay.
The OBGYN will be like, well, have you tried birth control? It's like this knee-jerk reaction. And I think that it's really frustrating within this insurance convention,
Ah,
Western model, where we're having somebody dictate what your healthcare should look like based on what they'll pay for, right?
right.
So this is what happened when I had my accident at work. I was like, there is a whole other world out there of ways to heal yourself, or to like find out what the root cause is, and you literally have to fox mulder it out yourself. So um that's from the X-Files.
Okay, sorry. I'm like, and okay.
Like, who's
Um,
Fox Mulder?
when I'm almost 53, so
Okay. Okay.
um, when you had your accident, the accident had nothing to do with your cycles.
No, I was rigging a camera in a bucket and I fell out, and I injured my back pretty badly. And so all I wanted to do was go back to work, right? And so at the time, this is like the early part of the opioid crisis, as a matter of fact. So it was
Oh,
like there was this whole like everyone suggested that I just go on opioids. And finally I met another camera woman at work, and she was like, no, have you tried going to Arno? Yeah, so this amazing, incredible, powerful
okay.
acupuncturist in LA. And so I was just like, one day after going to this amazing person, I felt better. I was like able to go back to work. And so at the time, it was more important to me, because when you're a crew member, it's all about being able to like physically support yourself, right? So and work, and you only have your body. So I was able to get back to work. And then at the same time, I noticed I kept going back every time I got injured at work, and he made me feel better. So it was incredible.
Okay, I'm glad that I asked that question, because
Yeah.
for people who are not as
Yeah.
don't know as much about acupuncture, it's a very holistic, like your whole body. Because when you said I went for this accident and I had relief with my periods, those two things are not connected. What's connected is the acupuncturist who's saying, and what else is going on? And how
Right.
else are you feeling? So
Yeah.
talk to me about that, because as an infertility specialist later, that has to be a huge foundation in how you treat people for fertility, which, like what I just described, is no, you do this, you go on the birth control pill, then you go off, then you go on Clomid and Provera, then you do these 7-day surgeries to check, flushing the fallopian tubes, taking chunks of your cervix and uterus to biopsy it, like all these things that are kind of like rote. And you have, that's probably great information, but with an acupuncturist background, I would think there's a lot in that. That's a melting pot for you.
Yes. This is like I love this. This is my passion. So yeah, so like Western models are based on more of a Socratic method based way of diagnosing. I'm sure you know this, being also a clinician, but we work the systems are very siloed, right? So with Eastern philosophies and TCM, it's more comprehensive in the sense that we really talk about the human's connection between heaven and earth, and how all the systems are related to each other, right? So
Mhm.
we're thinking about, if we make one move in terms of a great positive nutritional intervention forward with somebody's fertility, we're creating, it's almost like a ripple effect, right? So we're creating a better stress response, right? Better blood sugar stabilization, the body's propensity to heal and regulate, it gets compoundedly so much better. So we're thinking about moving forward with a patient at a slower way than
Mhm.
what you're kind of used to when you were talking about like, then I'm going on this, then I'm going on this,
Right.
we are waiting for these like small, profound results to kind of take effect, right?
I love that. I mean, I love acupuncture and I'm more familiar with it. I've had it done. It's not scary. You can be terrified of needles. It's not the same, but the results are so, like you said, the results are maybe seem smaller, but much more profound, which seems like an oxymoron and is absolutely not. And so I love that and the holistic approach. I mean, most people can relate to, like, my husband had something going on in his lower back, and I'm not a massage therapist and I don't know all the muscles, but I stuck my thumb right in the middle of his butt cheek because I could see how he was walking. I could just see his
Right.
movements. And I was like, it looks like it's right there. And I massage, and that helped his back, where you're saying everything is connected. And yeah, like, that's something that people can usually relate to. You think something hurts here, but actually, like in your wrist, but it's actually because you hit your elbow. And I just love that all whole body approach and how everything is connected, because it's so true. You did that and you got relief from your periods, which that is, well, I mean, the relief from your back and the ability, that's huge. That's that in a day you felt better, right? That's monumental when they're telling you to go on opioids. But then you had relief from your cycles. So how much did that change? That, like, that's life changing.
That was life changing. And I never, like, I was able to, like, I was able to run. I've always been a runner, so I was able to, like, run long distances. I wasn't able to ever do that on my period. And I mean, it was like really transformative and has stayed with me forever. And I actually, that was a lot more of the herbs that I worked with.
Mhm.
So when we talk about TCM frameworks, we have tons of spokes of the umbrella and ways that we create a powerful intervention that's long lasting, right? So we have the acupuncture and the point selection, which is all about harmonizing the body using the meridian system.
Mhm.
And then we have the herbs, and the herbs work synergistically with the point selection and the acupuncture to kind of create this long lasting, life-changing effect, as you talk about. So it's a really interesting medicine in the sense that, like, I'll never go back to painful periods. Like, I like find that to be really amazing.
Yeah. I mean, for women that are hearing this who think, what? Like, how is that even possible? Your life is spent making plans based on a 28-ish day cycle, right? And what you can and can't do. Like, well, that falls on this. It's people plan their weddings or events around, like, well, I don't want to plan it so that I have my period for that. This is like your whole life is being planned around 1 week of each month ish, and what you can and can't do, and how miraculous, what a gift it is to not have to do that.
Yeah, and relatively, when we talk about costs and economics of
Mm.
healthcare, um, it's incredible. Like, this whole systems medicine. I mean, was the whole entire system of the country of China, right? Is all based on acupuncture and herbs and those kinds of interventions. And it's like amazing that this model is so successful and helps a huge norm. It's a public health medical system that works in China. So it's just incredible to me that it's so foreign here in the United States, because it's like, why aren't we doing this in response to this instead of overworking our physicians, prescribing, referring? It's just really interesting to me.
Well, I think you hit on it earlier. I mean, there's the pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies, and they're skipping and holding hands, and they think it's great. They're making boatloads of money, and the people's health is not the primary concern. Or they would do things like, I'm in Nevada, and I can't see a naturopath here because I want to, my gut reaction say they're illegal, but they're not licensed in Nevada. So to go around that, if you're licensed as an acupuncturist, you can bill through that. But we can, in our conversation, I'm still having a naturopathic conversation. And then it's so backwards, so backwards. The whole thing is so backwards. We could save a ton of money and a ton of health and a ton of stress, and it would cost less money. I mean, having a doula, having an acupuncturist cuts down on healthcare costs over time. That's not the goal of insurance and pharmaceuticals. The goal is not to save money.
No, and it's really interesting because how acupuncture even supports fertility has been really amazing lately. And so we're really enjoying a time in this country as fertility acupuncturists, which is my specialty. Because we're seeing a lot more RCTs, randomized clinical trials, come out
Mm.
that are showing that they can improve the efficacy of an IVF transfer procedure by about 43%. So
Holy
it's
cow.
incredible. So there's kind of two parts of that coin in terms of dosing and acupuncture right now. And this might be more nuanced for this conversation, but there's what is called the Paulus protocol, which is doing acupuncture 30 minutes before and after your IVF transfer procedure.
Okay.
And that we know improves IVF transfers dramatically. And then there's the whole systems type of medicine where you're going to acupuncture about twice a week leading up to your transfer for about a month at least.
Okay.
So, and we know that that also improves outcomes as well in live birth rates. So it's this great
Wow.
adjunct medicine to art technologies, and we're really seeing this profound effect of that.
I want to segue in because you just talked about how you specialize in infertility. And I know this all started with your accident and your cycles and having so much relief and going back to school. And we have all the links and all the information in the show notes, but I know that you do like pain, digestion, stress management, hormone imbalances. It sounds like women, moms, women. You know, I mean, we not that, and I'm not ruling out men from stress or GI or disorders or anything, but you really focus on supporting women's wellness and you specialize in infertility. So I really want to dive into that now.
Okay. Yeah. So how, I guess the first lead-in question would be to describe how acupuncture and herbs can support
Yeah.
fertility and reproductive health, right?
Yep.
So for a fact, we actually know that acupuncture regulates the nervous system and also improves circulation and blood flow to the uterus and the ovaries. So that's a big piece. And in terms of relaxing the nervous system, it also regulates cortisol. So that in turn
Oh, yeah.
can really kind of harmonize the interplay between estrogen and progesterone. We're trying to balance out ovulation and cycle length. So those are kinds of three things, the main three things that we talk about when we talk about acupuncture and herbal medicine. And we know that, like I said, so in terms of natural conception, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. So sorry. I think I just got a call. Sorry. Um, in terms of natural conception, one of the things that we empower women to do in terms of fertility acupuncture is to really regulate that ovulation time, right? So
Right.
we want to teach you how to predict ovulation so that you can conceive. So the other piece that we're looking at when we're talking about herbal interventions, this is more, again, more nuanced, but what that luteal phase progesterone output looks like more specifically, because this will help plan and protect the baby. And so that the embryo can really implant and stay in the uterus. So we're looking at what that graphic representation of the hormones look like on like a BBT chart, or I use a piece of femtech called the UVA kit. I can totally link that to you in the show notes. And so that helps you, that scans to a QR code in real time on your phone, and it'll just really give you a way to communicate with your clinician, right? So that's one of the things that a fertility herbalist will do, or an acupuncturist herbalist will do, is really get you the data so that I call it data avoids drama. So it's
Oh,
like,
okay.
we want you to, right?
Yeah.
So we want you to be curious and empowered when we're talking about your health. So I don't know about you, but like I had, again, even before I was in the film business, a very limited exposure to what my period was, what my hormones were doing.
Mhm.
I didn't understand the symptoms piece of hormones at all. So I think one of the roles of an fertility acupuncturist is to really educate their patient base around that. So what that means.
I love that. Um, so they come to you when they're, well, I'm guessing for lots of things, painful periods, but if it's specific for fertility, they come to you and you set them up so that they are more knowledgeable about their body. They recognize things better. They have a more clear idea of how their body is working. You can alleviate some of the issues that seem peripheral, but everything's connected. I guess I'd like to say, like if you have headaches or you don't sleep well, or you're like cortisol is really high, that's stress. I'm guessing you're dealing with them holistically and whatever their peripheral issues outside of IVF are. And then on that cycle, you can help them all the way through. So natural conception all the way up to IVF.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, ideally, like I would like to push back on our fear-based mongering around when a person decide, and I'm not villainizing IVF by this statement at all. Like I think it's a wonderful technology. We're making really great they're making great advancements in the field. I love it, but I wish we spent a little bit more time getting curious, making great decisions and interventions and changes to your nutrition and your
Yes.
lifestyle before you were going into that framework, right? Because whatever you do, whether or not you conceive during like your prep time, at least you're like empowered, is like you're getting yourself set up for long lasting changes, right? And more successful outcomes, a better pregnancy, a healthier pregnancy, and a live birth rate, right? We know
Yeah.
for a fact, even just like we haven't even started talking about nutrition, but just keeping your body really healthy, like at least give yourself 3 to 6 months before you even think about it. I mean, I don't know what your training is or what you think of that or.
Well, I think the hardest part for the woman hearing that is that that seems like a long time to just to do nothing, right? To not be working on the
Yeah.
fertility itself. And I think what a shame because the time's gonna pass anyway. And infertility, because I went through it up to IVF and then I just knew it wasn't my path. IVF was not my path. Um, and I always have thought like kudos to women who are willing to go through it because I was not willing to go that route. I just decided I wanted to do foster care and adopt. And if I could not get pregnant physically, that I would be okay with that. And I did. So it's easy for me retrospectively to say, yes, but I gave birth. But there's a lot of trauma in all of that, in infertility, in the pregnancies that I had, because no one is supporting. So what I would say to women listening is the time is going to pass anyway, without the guarantee of getting pregnant. And if your personal health could be better, if your pregnancy could be better, if the baby's outcome could be better, if your postpartum healing could be better, and the time is going to pass anyway, why in the world would you not want to stop and take that 3 to 6 months to get everything ready to start? Like, why wouldn't you want to take that? Because I think people's pushback is but that's so much longer. Then I have to wait so much longer. We're very instant gratification society now.
Yeah. We had 2 cases last week, which were really interesting in office that are applicable here. And so had 2 people in tech. There was each a partner, believe it or not. I don't know how I got that same type of patient at the same time, but they went through 3 rounds of retrievals, 3, like each, and they were like no viable embryos, and they were like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And I was like, okay, well, let's just kind of, you guys can try naturally for sure over the summer, but like, let's just see what happens. And like, let's do the work. Let's do the acupuncture. Let's clean house, get everything in order. It's going to take us like 3 to 4 months anyway. And they both sets of couples conceived naturally on the same week almost. It was it was the weirdest, like, we're having a lot of these weird, like, yay, 2 pregnancy announcement things like this particular year. I don't know what's happening, but it was like a really funny story in the sense that it was like they were told by the reproductive endocrinologist, like, this isn't going to happen. And then the sad thing about sometimes with REs is like the REIs, it'll be an intervention until you can't afford it anymore. Right. So
Oh,
like this
yep.
heartbreaking
Heartbreaking. Sell everything you own just for the
journey.
possibility.
Yeah, and it's just like
It's so
it's
sad.
so terrifying, I think, to watch. And so it was great with these people to like I felt very like they were the underdogs of life. But you know, they were engaged, they were compliant, they like really got curious about their health, and like they really looked under the hood of their lives. And it was really great to see and able to like give the right material to like what their container was at the time. That was what
Yeah.
made it really exciting for me.
I love, I mean, you have lots of kudos on your website, lots of success stories, which I love. I already know I'm going to share your information with someone that I know who just has had several miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage, and I've interviewed her twice, and it's just devastating. It's just devastating for women. And that's why I hope they'll see that. Like, I love how you said, look under the hood, clean house, get everything ready.
Yeah. Yeah. We call it prepare the palace. It's a it's a it's a whole thing in TCM gynecology. It's called
I
prepare the palace, right?
I love it. But
Yeah.
it's true, and, I think you can get so focused on the end result of having the baby that when you're selling everything that you own and you're doing everything like hell or high water, I'm gonna do everything I can to get pregnant. And I am not dismissing that does how strong that desire is to have children. I'm not dismissing that at all. I'm just saying, if you could just take a breath and relax and look at it from a different lens, that your emotional and physical sanity, your financial sanity probably, and your outcome would all be so much better. I can't even imagine the cortisol levels in these couples who are doing all of that to conceive.
Yeah. And
Just cortisol.
100%. And it's so like to your point, it's like a trauma experience, right? But like,
Yes.
what about refocusing the lens to Yvonne Farrell, who's an amazing professional in our field, is always says that it's not about making a baby, it's about creation, right? So it's a bigger idea than not just a human life, but like you are creating a new way of how you're going to move through this world, right? This is going to like this is a change, this is a huge change, right? So I like the idea of getting yourself ready for this new identity.
I I love that. And I know, you've said a couple things throughout our time talking together, like debilitating periods, had to plan around them, couldn't run. And now you just said, and it's been years, right? And you've said, I'll never have to suffer through a painful period again. That's just like one, it's huge. It's huge how much it affects your life, but that's just like
Yeah.
one small part of this whole process of infertility is the cycles that you had on the front end and how much it can completely alter your life for the long term. And I mean, having a baby alters your life for the long term. So making this a more holistic, natural, I feel like you're coming 180 degrees to how it should be. It seems like to me. What to wrap this up, because there are so many positive stories. I want people to have a lot of hope in just being healthier overall on top of the IVF, because you have a baby and you need to be healthier overall. I think women discount that a lot, that postpartum, that's another great area of focus with acupuncture and just you're refocusing on your health, in my experience. What would you end on telling the parents that are listening to this?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So first of all, you're never alone, right? So I have
Mhm.
a Facebook group. It's called Bun in the Oven Buzz. You can always join. I'm live on Tuesdays at 4 o'clock. And also, I'm developing a program that's online. So if you can't get to an acupuncturist directly in
Okay.
your town, we're going to launch the second cohort, the Positive Pregnancy Project, in January. So you can always stay tuned on all of my social media platforms for that. That's going to be really exciting. There's going to be a lot of one-on-one coaching and support, and a lot of live sessions and meal plans. And it's very transformational. So that's what I'm really excited about. But I guess like I would leave to don't give up on one person's opinion. Like, go out there and look beyond the confines of what you're accustomed to and dig a lot deeper.
I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Hoehn, for being on. I appreciate you so much.
Likewise, this has been so fun.